pretty fish.
Beautiful.
This pond is plumb loaded with frogs.
They're everywhere in here. Yeah, this is a good fish right here. Really good fish.
Come here, girl.
Yeah, boy. That's a big rabbit.
Nice job.
Yes! Yes! My first muskie. Mercy Leo!
Yeah, look at it. It's a keeper.
There it goes. Boom.
Wow, that happened fast.
Hello and welcome to Kentucky Afield. I'm your host, Chad Miles. Tonight, right in the middle of March, everyone's dealing with March Madness, but a lot of us are looking forward to turkey season. And tonight, that's what we're here to talk about. All about turkey. Tonight's show is 1 hour long, and we're going to be answering all of your questions. Questions that can be submitted either through Facebook by going on to the Kentucky Afield Facebook page, or you can call us at 1-800-944-4664. Joining me tonight, we have some familiar faces. We have Zach Danks, who is the Turkey and Grouse Program Coordinator. How you doing, Zach?
Great.
And also we have another familiar face, Rufus Cravens, who is a conservation officer in the 6th District. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
We've got a few questions from Facebook. We're going to go ahead and get right to it. Hey, turkey season is right around the corner.
That's right. Coming up.
We got the youth season, which is coming up on the
6th, April 6th
and
7th. Yep.
And then right behind that, 1 week later,
13th.
The season opens up statewide on the 13th. And this year, the season runs from the 13th all the way until
May 5th.
May the 5th.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that's
23
fantastic.
days. Yeah.
23 days. Well, I'll tell you what, we've been seeing a lot of turkeys. Just on my drive today, down 64 to get here to the call-in show, I saw a ton of turkeys and already saw some strutting birds.
Oh yeah. Yeah. This past week I was in the field and saw several strutters.
It's about to happen. Hopefully we hit it just perfect
This
for
weather,
the youth.
I'm hoping it's going to be good. Yep.
Well, let's get to a couple of these questions here. First up, we have Richard on Facebook. Are wild turkeys safe to eat due to the unsanitary conditions of a harvest? I'm guessing he's talking about just taking the bird with lead and...
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most of the time, I mean, you're going to be, as far as breast meat and stuff that we all eat, you're going to be looking through that, making sure there's no lead shot in it. Otherwise, I'm not sure there's no other, typically not, unless he has a reason to think it's some sort of unsanitary situation, it should be fine. I mean, if you want to err on the side of caution, wear gloves, but no, they should be just as sanitary as anything else, any other wild animal.
Sometimes you can find, like, you'll breast a turkey out and there'll be a section like maybe they got spurred by another bird fighting or something like that in a little spot. You know, I always cut that little chunk of meat out if it looks discolored or something like that, but it's never seemed to have affected the rest of the breast or anything.
So for a person who's never turkey hunted, once you take a turkey in the field, you know, with deer you try to get the innards out fairly quick. On a turkey, how long? What is the? I've never had an issue, so I don't know how long do you really have to process one to not worry about fouling the taste.
Really just depends on how hot it is. I mean, later in the season, it can be even early in the season, but typically later in the season as it warms up, I'd probably want to be getting that thing field dressed within 2 or 3 hours at the absolute most. But most people, when you get a bird, you know, we can only kill one a day. So, I mean, unless you're with some other folks, try to get back pretty prompt. You don't want that meat to spoil.
So the answer for Richard, yes, they are safe to eat and they are fantastic. Now, you normally eat the breast. Some people try to eat other parts of the turkey, but really a wild turkey is a little different than a domestic bird in the fact that really the breast is the best part, right?
It is, yeah.
All right, let's go on. Joseph from Facebook. Are you allowed to run dogs on Miller Welch WMA in Richmond during the spring season?
Well, if he's talking about just using them as a field trial, I'm not certain about that being that specific WMA. Seemed like there was some talk about limiting that for the spring turkey season, but I would recommend him call up to our main office at 1-800-858-1549 during business hours, and they can give him a specific answer on that WMA.
Okay.
But as far as using, and I don't think it's what he's talking about, but you can't use dogs to hunt turkeys anywhere during the spring turkey season.
It's interesting because in the fall, when fall turkey season comes in, some people do use dogs to run in and bust them out and call them back in. I don't know if that's what he's referring to, but that specifically, if he's trying to hunt turkeys by busting them out, one, it may not be real effective in the spring, and secondarily, it's not legal, right?
Correct. That's correct.
All right, not legal on WMAs, right?
Correct.
All right, Jackie from Greenville, Kentucky. What is the #1 predator of turkeys? Now, this is an interesting question because there can be multiple predators depending on, are we talking about eggs or are we talking about birds? So
That's right, yeah. Generally, most biologists consider the biggest impact to be on the nest.
Okay.
When the hen's nesting and then on the nest and then right after the poults hatch. So nest-wise, I mean, you're looking at raccoons, skunks, possums, rat snakes, crows, a lot of things. And that's really typically what hurts our populations. Adult birds, or once they reach adult size, they're pretty tough. I mean, I know folks see a lot of coyotes nowadays, and it is possible. I mean, we've all had, a lot of us have called in coyotes, and so it seems like, man, they must be hunting turkeys a lot. But coyotes are adaptable, so they're gonna try to get every turkey they can. But turkeys typically are pretty savvy at avoiding predators. Bobcats are probably one of the most efficient predators, I would say, at an adult bird.
most of the predation, though, does take place in the nest,
Yeah,
right?
and after they hatch, early in the brood season.
It's a good reason why good management of your property may include, depending on what you've got, it may include some trapping.
Good.
Or allowing someone to take raccoons. Because I know that when we first got the piece of property out at Otter Creek, I was talking to some biologists out there, and they put cameras on some of the turkey nests, and they were shocked at the number of raccoons that consumed turkey eggs. And it was a large percentage of the eggs.
They're good at finding them. They are. Yeah,
They got all night to do it.
that's true.
All right, Sarah from Booneville, Kentucky. What should I do on my farm to make it more attractive to turkeys? First off, let's talk about what you can do to attract turkeys using food plots and grasses. And then we need to talk about what you shouldn't do to attract turkeys during turkey season for legality reasons, okay?
Sure, yeah. Yeah, there's a number of habitat practices you can do. The first thing I would recommend, if folks have not worked with one of our private lands biologists with the department or farm bill biologists, we have a crew of biologists that will come out and give you free technical advice, even help you get onto some cost share programs potentially. But specifically for turkeys, I mean, our guys know that the key to that is nesting and brood rearing cover. Food plots are great, they are, but we kind of look at them as an attractant. And one of the ways food plots are really most beneficial is because a hen will take her brood there, because especially clover and other good foods like that harbor a lot of bugs. That's where poults need to be. So I think we really need to, as far as increasing population locally on your farm, really try to improve the conditions for nesting hens. So there's some forest practices they can do, some edge feathering and timber stand improvement type practices, and our biologists can help you with that.
The interesting thing is to make better habitat, a lot of times can mean less work. Now, it can be a lot of work to get started in the process, but once you get rolling,
Sure.
you're leaving a little extra that you may not be mowing. You may use some practices where you're allowing some of the native stuff to stick around, right?
Absolutely, yeah. We really hope people won't spend as much time and money manicuring their farms, because that actually is detrimental to a lot of wildlife, turkeys included.
So Rufus, as far as attracting turkeys, let us know what is actually allowed, and as far as feeding wildlife to try to attract them in that way, and what is not allowed.
Well, you can't hunt turkeys over bait, and bait would be putting out any kind of corn or grain or substance that would attract wild turkeys. So, in other words, putting like corn feeders out, deer feeders, or scattering it on the ground, corn, wheat, sunflower seeds, any kind of grain or substance like that would be capable of attracting wild turkeys. It's illegal to do that during March. You can't feed wildlife except in the curtilage of your home, which would be like the area immediately surrounding your home, part of kind of like your day-to-day activity area, from March 1st through May 31st. And then it's illegal to hunt over any kind of area like that as well.
Okay. So obviously, food plots is completely excluded because that's normal agricultural practices.
Correct. Yeah, they can manipulate that. And once the bait is removed, for the area to become legal, it has to be a 30-day window. So they can't hunt if someone had corn out and clean it up or whatever kind of bait out, they can't legally hunt that area, turkey hunt that area for 30 days after all that bait has been removed.
So if it's out now, it's too late.
That's
You're
correct.
pretty much
Yep.
done for the season.
That's correct.
All right. Here you go, Zach. Here's a question for you. How many eggs are typically in a hatch, or are they called a hatch or a clutch? What are they called? A clutch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, typically the hen's going to lay anywhere from 9 to 12, 13 eggs.
Okay.
You know,
and how
kinda
many
vary.
male versus female eggs, and what is the survival rate?
About 50-50 on the sex ratio at as far as at hatch. I mean,
Okay.
typically it's going to be close to half and half. Survival rate. A lot of research recently is finding out that you know, it's hard to be a poult. You know, there's several eggs in there for a reason, because everything loves to attack a poult, and bad weather can kill them from exposure. So survival rate for poults, I'm going to say probably overall maybe at most you're looking at like 40%.
And that's
30,
the 1
40%.
year.
That's poults surviving to maybe a month old or so.
Gotcha,
Now, when you're
okay.
talking adults, of course, we hunt gobblers actively in the spring, so it's hard to be an adult gobbler. Survival is going to be anywhere from 40-50%. It just depends on how hard locally we're hunting them. Some research back, George Wright, the founder, you know, the godfather of Kentucky turkey management, he did some research back 20, 25 years ago, and Western Kentucky turkey hunters were good at killing gobblers. So I think there was like maybe a 45% survival rate at something at that point. Hens is probably going to be a little higher.
Oh, yeah.
So maybe in the 50, 60% range.
Okay. Brenda from Jefferson County. How safe or dangerous is turkey reaping? Now, this is a really interesting question. Turkey reaping, there's some great videos on there on turkey reaping, and it is a much more active way than to sit down against a tree and wait for a turkey to come by and do some calling. But man, it can be an exciting hunt, but that is something that you need to make sure you're not on I would never advise someone to go on public property, on a WMA, or on a piece of property that they don't know exactly who's on that property, because you are literally taking a bird that can see incredibly well, and you're trying to fool it with parts of another bird, essentially. It looks like a tail feather. So you can imagine, or a fan, you can imagine, you could be pretty easy to fool a hunter that way as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would really be careful. You know, the lay of the land, right where you're hunting, probably is a big factor, because if it's hilly at all and you're not sure where that shot's going, it's probably not a super safe situation anyway. But with this reaping stuff, you've just got to be careful.
It can be extremely successful, though, can't it?
It can. It absolutely can. I mean, you're really striking that gobbler's natural tendency to want to be competitive for that hen. But just be cautious of that too.
What have you seen? What have you seen as far as areas where people are using that method? Are people being successful? And is it legal to do it on WMA?
I haven't seen any regulations or statutes that would prohibit it.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't recommend it just for the safety factor of it. You know, somebody who's out in the middle of a wide open field, obviously, is probably going to be a little bit safer than if you're in the woods or hilly terrain or something like that. But I wouldn't recommend doing it on public land, because, like you say, you don't know who's hunting and how many people are out there, and it can be dangerous.
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Not trying to discourage someone from doing it. We're just saying, if you're going to do it, make sure you're extremely safe.
Correct.
And make sure that you know the property, and make sure you know who else may be out there, because it very well could be a dangerous situation. All right, Susan from Franklin County wants to know if her child under the age of 12 harvests a turkey, does she check it in under her Social Security number?
No, you would check it in under the youth's Social Security number.
Okay. So even though they're not required for a license at that age, you still can check it in under their license, or their name, even though they don't have a license. It's going to give you the option on there, youth
Right.
under 12 who does not
Correct.
require a license, right?
Correct.
All right. I'm not really sure what this one says. It says, can I shoot a hen? Oh, can I shoot a hen with a beard? Our Jennifer from Caldwell County wants to know, we get this question every year. I should have known this was coming. Jennifer from Caldwell County wants to know if she can shoot a hen that has a beard.
Yes, that's legal. The regulations say for the spring season, male turkey or turkey with visible beard. And you're allowed 1 per day, 2 per season.
Okay.
Bag limit.
And they're not like extremely common, but they're pretty common. Every year there's going to be quite a few hens that are harvested with a beard.
Yeah,
I see
for
some
sure.
probably every season. I see at least one while I'm out hunting or working. You know, sometimes multiples, but I see them fairly regular.
About 1% of the harvest is typically hens in the spring.
Okay.
So yeah, in a population, it can be a little higher than that. The percentage of hens that's got a beard, but it's still relatively low.
Travis from Muhlenberg County. If I spook a turkey or bump it while hunting, how long will it be before that turkey will be willing to gobble when you're calling? Well, that's an interesting question.
It is, yeah. It really depends on how much pressure that bird's already got. It depends on the individual bird. I mean, there's a reason some birds make it to 3+ years old. They just have innately the ability to avoid hunters. But there's been some really neat research recently where we have GPS tagged turkeys, and then you also have hunters with GPSs, and you can see how some turkeys will just get out of Dodge when the hunting pressure starts. Other turkeys, they hang out and they just shut up, and you never know they're there, despite the hunting pressure. So it's a really hard question to answer because it's just so variable, all the turkeys. But definitely they respond to hunting pressure typically. So if you just be patient, I mean, in the same area later in the season, you can have success. So don't give up on that bird.
Yeah, and that's if you can get out there on the opening weekend. I think if you're hunting a piece of property that's getting hunting pressure, your chances are better early. But that doesn't mean you're not going to kill a turkey. It may hurt your chances of calling one right into you if it's been called in and shot at. But you can still get it. What's the harvest numbers look like? I'm guessing because the number of people out there, our harvest numbers are much higher on opening weekend. But people kill birds year long, or the entire season long, right?
They do, yeah. The vast majority definitely kill opening weekend. I forget the percentage. It was actually down last year because we had some bad weather on that opening weekend. But it's typically the vast majority of our harvest now. But we string it along throughout the season. So.
All right, Kenny from Hazard, Kentucky. Can I carry my bow and shotgun at the same time while turkey hunting?
Yes, and as long as it's in the spring season or fall shotgun season.
Good luck to Kenny, because I tell you what, as I'm starting to learn, as I've spent a little more time and get a little bit older, sometimes if you can take a couple things and go, I haven't used this in the last 3 or 4 hunts, minimalization can be the tool. I can't imagine going after them and having, if you got a blind and you're going to get in that blind, you're going to sit there and you're going to say, man, I'd really like taking with a bow, but you also have your shotgun. I can kind of get that, but man, I even got calls. If I haven't called the last 2 or 3 times out in the woods, I ditch that thing. I try to get as little gear as I can carry.
Yeah.
Tim from Wolf County, do all poults hatch at the same time?
Within a day of each other, yeah, typically. It's pretty synchronous.
And that's the ones that are in that clutch. So
Yeah.
turkeys can hatch from what period of time to what period of time as far as?
Typically, they're going to be hatching out the end of May, latter part of May, just based on when the majority of hens are laying and incubating. But if hens lose their first nest and she renests, I mean, you may have poults coming off in late June.
Okay.
Sometimes even early July. It just depends. And that's a good point. Actually, I'll take a second just to talk about when our season opens. It opens for a reason. Typically, when our season comes in mid-April, most of the hens have been bred, and so they're going off starting to lay eggs. Okay, they're going to lay about an egg a day for a couple weeks. So that's good biologically, because it helps hopefully perpetuate the population. But we still have some good gobbling activity.
It's
through the rest of the
amazing
season.
when you get out in early archery season for deer, and then that turkey season for archery comes in. It's amazing the range sometimes that the turkey chicks can come by. You can see some that you can tell immediately, hey, that's a really, really young turkey, and then some that you think are probably that first year that look more like a full-grown adult turkey.
That's right. If a hen loses a nest 1 time, 2 times, sometimes she'll even nest a 3rd time.
Yeah.
Now they don't have a lot of energy by that point, so typically a third nest attempt's not got a lot of chance of success, but certainly second nest, that accounts for all that size variation you're going to see in bow season.
Adam from Jackson County wants to know if he can use a .410 pistol for the use while turkey hunting.
No, you can use a .410 shotgun, but we define in KRS, Kentucky Revised Statutes, we define a shotgun as being fired from the shoulder.
Okay.
And then it would also obviously have to be plugged to where it could only hold 3 rounds, a total of 3 rounds, counting one in the chamber.
Because to my knowledge, the only .410 the only 410 pistol is they call the Judge or whatever they call that, right? It's a revolver, right?
Correct, but they also make, like Thompson Center makes the Contender,
Okay.
which is, you can get a 410 barrel for those and have basically a, I don't know what length barrel, but I think 10, 12 inch, 8
Okay.
inch, something like that. But you can also get those or single shot, but again, since those can't be fired from the shoulder, they're not legal for turkey
Okay.
hunting.
Kelsey from Falmouth, Kentucky. Why is there a ban on preseason calling? Which one of you guys want to take that?
I'll take it just from a biological standpoint and kind of a hunt quality standpoint. It's winter breakup time, spring starting, so you typically you're going to hear some gobbling, and it's tempting to call, but we want hunters to have the best opportunity possible. So the least educating we can do of those gobblers before we start hunting, the better.
We just talked about how the numbers of harvest in the opening weekend are substantially higher than other periods of time. We talked about how birds react after they've been called a few times. Man, I tell you what, you can educate a bird.
Yep.
People, I've seen turkeys do things that people question how smart they are, and I've seen them do things that I question how smart they are. But I've seen turkeys be pretty slick.
They're hardwired to be wary.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Is there a reason legally for calling turkeys?
I'm not sure if there's an actual legal reason for it. I mean, one thing, if somebody was out there calling, in camo and was out there scouting and calling and stuff, I'm sure that would lead to increased calls for us that, hey, somebody's out here turkey hunting already, getting a jump on season. So that could be part of the reason.
Okay. Thomas from Pulaski County, can you use a decoy attached to a remote control car? This is an interesting thing. Before you know, it'd be drones.
You cannot use electronic calling devices for turkeys. You cannot use mechanical deer decoys, but we have no regs on that I've seen. We don't have any regulations against mechanical or electronic turkey decoys. So I would say yes, that's
As long as the call is not part of that decoy,
correct.
Then technically I guess it would be legal. Huh?
Yes.
Interesting. Mike from Lee County, what is the difference between bait and a food plot? We've kind of went over and talked a little bit about that.
Probably the easiest way to describe that would be a food plot is something that was raised there, grown there. Bait would be something that was taken out and placed there or scattered there. The easiest way to.
Our next question, this is an interesting question. William from Shelby County, can you use a dead turkey as a decoy? Obviously people do that quite a bit with the reaping feathers and putting, I don't know what you classify a dead turkey, if he means the whole turkey or turkey parts to help build a decoy.
I would say, I don't know why anybody would want to do that, but if you've got a dead turkey that you're packing around, I would say no on that. But, if you're hunting with a buddy and a bird comes in and one person shoots and the bird falls and you sit there and continue to call because there's another bird in the area till, the person hunting with you does it, then there wouldn't be anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
It'd be legal.
Well, we talked about preserving the meat. You do want to get that bird, especially if it's warm. And
Absolutely.
I wouldn't kill one on day one and use it as a decoy the rest of the season until I
Right.
filled my tag. That's
no,
for sure.
absolutely not. That's definitely, that'd be an unsportsmanlike
Yeah.
call to me.
Bobby from Todd County, how has the last summer's turkey hatch been, and what does this mean for this season?
Well, it was considerably better in the last 2 years. It was up like 60-some% over last year. Last year was pretty rough. 2017 summer, 2018 summer was much improved over most of the state, and so especially central and eastern Kentucky. And I think hopefully we had a better fall harvest, which is kind of a reflection of there being more young turkeys on the landscape. So hopefully, if we see a little uptick in the percentage of jakes we kill this spring, that'll be kind of another indicator that next season, 2020 spring, we ought to have several more, many more 2-year-old gobblers that are going to be gobbling vocal, and we should see a little higher harvest.
All right, fantastic. Avery from Facebook, what is the best shot size for turkey? Man, if you ask 10 people, you may get 10 answers on this, huh?
Absolutely, yeah.
You got to know your gun. Best thing to do is I would recommend get some different shot sizes and lengths of shells, and go out and pattern your gun and see what works in it, because what works best in my gun may not work the best in your gun and in yours. So.
And I'll tell you something that's really come onto the scene with turkey hunting now is this use of tungsten. People are using tungsten now, and now they're a really expensive shell. It can be upwards to $10 a shot, but the tungsten people that are using that are using 8 and 9 shot and getting the same knockdown power. Now, if you're that dedicated a turkey hunter and you're willing to spend that money and pattern that gun, and that's really what you want. So you really could hear people that say turkey shot could range from the best to use. Some people may tell you, what, 4 to 9?
Yeah, I was going to say 4 is the largest shot that you can use. So
Yeah.
you can't use anything bigger than number 4s for turkey.
So 4 to 9, and it depends on your gun, and it depends on the material of the shot that's inside there.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you can use
we do.
lead, tungsten. What other? Can you use bismuth for turkeys? Or?
Yeah.
And
The heavy
steel?
loads.
Yeah, I'm sure you could. I mean, I wouldn't,
Wouldn't
unless you were
recommend
mandated in an area
Yeah.
to use it, I would rather use something heavier.
Yeah.
it's
Steel.
gonna
Everybody
do.
thinks steel's heavy, but steel, out of all the things you're going to shoot through a shotgun, it's the lightest material, isn't it?
Right.
So I probably wouldn't recommend steel, but. So man, what's the preferred shot size? Well, it really does depend, doesn't
Yeah.
It does, yeah. One thing I'll say too, on these new shot sizes, smaller shot size, we don't have an upper limit on how small the shot can be, but anything that will make more effective killing turkey, that's great. We also have safety considerations. I would caution people not to push the limits on range, on yardage,
Oh, yeah.
because these new shots are very effective, but don't push the envelope with range because you run the risk of not only wounding that bird, but also that's where safety comes in. So just be
and
cautious.
You get out there, your pattern's going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger too. And you
Yeah.
take a 9 shot and you shoot a turkey, you're probably going to put, if you're at a long distance, you're probably going to put quite a bit of shot throughout the
You are.
bird too.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's if you get out there and that real long shots. A normal close-up shot, you got a good choke. I'm sure that's great. Have you ever shot a tungsten round?
I've not yet. They're just still too expensive for me. I've my shotgun. I'm pretty comfortable with it. So, but
I'm
I
in the
hope
same
to
boat.
try it. Yeah.
I've never tried it, but it is very interesting. For
It is.
fishermen who they know how expensive tungsten versus lead is for weights for fishing, but man, it's a big difference.
Big
So
difference.
I'm sure with shooting a shotgun, and I'm guessing the recoil is probably a lot more too, because you're pushing a certain amount of a heavier weight at about the same feet per second out. Energy out means energy against you. So I'm guessing there's more recoil. I don't know though.
I'd-
All right, Joe from Caldwell County. What do you think about farmers spreading manure on fields? Does this help or hurt the population?
It has the potential to hurt, but we don't have great data on it right now. There's research being conducted on that. The risk would be histonomycosis or blackhead disease, which it has in some cases in the past had population level impacts, not necessarily from spreading litter on fields, but that is something that we're looking at. It's a concern, but I mean we've had poultry houses for a long time, turkey populations for a long time. A lot of folks are blaming that on some of the localized declines. There's a lot of factors that influence populations, and there was a question about the hatch, and that was good because that's a big role in turkey populations, and so it could be that those are having an impact, but we just don't know fully yet.
Well, it's highly likely the farmer's not doing it for turkey reasons. They're doing it for fertilization. But turkeys,
Absolutely.
well, people ask this question that don't know a lot about turkeys. Turkeys will go through and pull through
Sure.
and pick through manure piles. There's beetles and bugs and whatever in there, and and unconsumed grain.
Yeah,
They'll
absolutely.
pick through it and use that as a food source.
Yep, absolutely. They would have done that with the buffalo for eons before, just like they do with the cattle pastures today.
Keith from Lewis County. Where's a good place to go hunting in Lewis County for someone who's handicapped? Any ideas for Lewis County or something close by?
I'm not very familiar with
Handicap,
that part, that part of the state as far as the wildlife management areas or anything. But
Okay.
I know we've got that new Old Trace Creek area. I've not been on it yet, and I couldn't say that it would be any better for mobility impaired type stuff.
That would be a really good question to call into our info center,
Yeah.
1-800-848-1549. Call them and ask them, or you can go to our website. I will say that the amount of information that we have up there about the WMAs that can tell you parking situation, is it handicap accessible, all that information can be found on our website. And we're actually, here at Kentucky Afield, we're doing something new coming up. We are going to spend some time on some of our WMAs and bring you 1 or 2 every 6 months, show you drone footage, what can be available, talk to a biologist. So Hopefully the WMA in your backyard may be highlighted on Kentucky Afield pretty soon. That's something we've already started.
correct.
We've already done 3 or 4, and we're waiting to air them. So I think for anyone who wants to know more about the opportunities real close to them, keep an eye out for that.
It's real easy to see too on the homepage.
Oh, yeah.
fw.ky.gov. There's a Maps tab toward the top. You click on that, you'll find maps you can print out. There's an interactive map. It's really great for honing in places.
Yeah,
to
it
hunt.
tells you what specific seasons are open on WMAs and any special restrictions, and
Okay.
a lot of info on there. You're right.
Hey, to get your question answered tonight, you can reach us at 1-800-944-4664. The calls are flying in. I know there's a lot of things going on, a lot of distractions this time of year here in the state of Kentucky. We're crazy about our basketball. I realize that's all going on, but the questions are coming in. It won't be long. March Madness is going to be over. Everybody's going to want to be in the boat or in the turkey woods. So, we got a passion for the outdoors here in the state of Kentucky as well. And it shows by the number of calls coming through. Dan from Taylor Mill, why is the hunting season at Land Between the Lake shorter than the rest of the season? I'm not sure about this. I've never hunted LBL for turkeys. Is that the case?
It is, yeah.
Okay.
It's I don't know specifically. I'd say part of it has to do with tradition. Part of it has to do with pressure. I mean, historically, we would have had a lot of hunting pressure there. So it was probably an attempt to, compromise between opportunity and limiting pressure on that population. So I would, contact LBL directly on that, but it's probably got a lot of tradition
Okay.
to do with it.
Bill from Alexandria, Kentucky. Will the pressure of dogs push turkeys off the property? I don't know if he's got just dogs that are turned loose to run, but
I mean, if it's constant enough, sure, yeah. I mean, and feral dogs they can take out turkey nests too. I mean,
Yeah,
they're a nest predator as well, so not a good thing, I would say.
yeah. Daryl from Anderson County wants to know if he can shoot a turkey vulture. This is not exactly a turkey question, but a turkey vulture.
No.
No, they are federally protected. If he's having problems with him depredating livestock or something like that, he needs to get a hold of his local conservation officer and discuss the issue with them. There are some remedies to that, but as far as just going out and shooting a turkey vulture or any kind of vulture or buzzard,
Yeah.
it is illegal and a federal offense to do.
I was going to say, that's the red-headed turkey vultures are typically not the ones that are hurting livestock. It's the black vulture,
Yeah.
black grayish headed.
Yeah.
So there's very specific protocols for how to handle that if you're having problems. So get in
And those
touch
actually
with
don't go
federal
through the Department of
authorities.
Fish and Wildlife either, right? I mean, that's a
No,
federal
it's
deal.
federal.
Correct, yeah.
If you call the department, we can put you in touch with the right people, and that's the procedure to take.
Jason from Graves County, is it legal to turkey hunt over a cornfield that he has bush hogged?
Yes.
That's normal agricultural practices,
That
and
is correct.
that's going to be corn from last year.
Now, one thing you can't do on that, you can't harvest anything off of that and then take it and put it back on. In other words, if he harvested it in the fall and then went back and put the corn back on it, that would be illegal. But if he's got still a standing cornfield that he didn't get a chance to, that he either left on purpose or due to weather he didn't get a chance to harvest it, he can go out and bush hog it and legally hunt over it. Perfectly fine.
Excuse me. Eric from Marion County, does the fall turkey harvest have an effect on the spring season?
It can, definitely, and that's something that turkey biologists over the years have been pretty cautious with. In Kentucky, that's not going to be the case. We don't have we harvest a very small percentage of our population in the fall, and it seems like fall turkey hunting, for several reasons, possibly it's not quite as popular as it was a few years ago, but Kentucky's never had the popularity of the fall season that some other states have had. So, kind of rules of thumb, you've never wanted to harvest more than 4 or 5% of the hens. People worry about that. Well, we're allowed to shoot hens, but there is an allowable number of hens you can take in the fall. But certainly, if pressure ever got to a high level, we'd want to get to it. But such a small percentage of hunters actually shoot their bag limits in the fall that it's not really an issue now.
It's always amazed me when it comes to fall turkey hunting, because the period of time in which you can hunt is pretty wide open with the bows, because it's when you're in a deer stand deer hunting, for the most part, most of the season, you're allowed to turkey hunt. Right. The shotgun season, and you can take a hen, and your bag limits are a lot more, and still the amount of people that pick up a shotgun or a bow and arrow and target turkeys is pretty minimal, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, we're kind of known for Boone and Crockett bucks here, so we got a lot of diehard bow hunters and
Right.
big buck hunters that probably are focused on that. But fall hunting is really fun.
Oh,
It's a fun thing too.
You know,
so.
I'm in a weird situation because I really do enjoy getting out in the fall and chasing a turkey or two, and you know, I don't have a problem taking a hen. So if that's the opportunity you get, there's a reason the numbers are put in place. Hey, it is a really cool opportunity. I know we're talking about spring turkey hunting. I'm getting sidetracked here, but fall turkey hunting is something that is available, and that tag is also in your sportsman's license as well. So when you buy that, if you want to go buy a turkey tag in the spring and you buy a sportsman's license, you've already bought a fall turkey tag, right?
That's right.
So it's available. All right, Vince from McCracken County. What are the regs for non-resident youth hunters?
Non-resident youth hunters would still purchase. We don't have an actual non-resident youth license or non-resident youth turkey permit. So basically, the same applies if they're under the age of 12. Then they would not be required to have a hunting license or a youth hunting license or a youth turkey permit. If they're 12 to 15, then they would just buy the youth turkey permit and the youth hunting license.
But you still have to telecheck the birds. That's something we keep
That's
getting.
correct,
You know,
yes,
and
no
I get this
matter-
question numerous times in deer season and in turkey season. Hey, I had some friends come in out of state, and my friends. My friend bought his turkey tags, and they brought their 10-year-old son, and he actually harvested a turkey, and I don't check that in, right? Yes, you still
do.
have to do that.
That's correct. Still have to follow all the rules and regulations, the bag limits per day and per season and all that. You still have to telecheck it. Just you don't have under 12. You're not required to have that license or permit.
People are still, for whatever reason, a little bit afraid to pick up the phone and call a state agency when they know they don't have a tag, but they've taken a bird. But give us a call. It's a recording. You're going to hear your option on there. If you listen and you answer the questions, you're going to hear the option that fits you, and you're just going to check it under a youth license under the age of 12 who doesn't require
And
it.
don't forget you've got the option to check online now. So everybody's got a cell phone. So once you get signal again, if you don't already have it in the field, you can go to the website, log in, my profile. You can check it in that way.
Okay.
And it can be
Something
just
I
as
haven't
quick.
tried yet.
And as far as checking those in, you have until midnight the day you harvest the bird. You have either until midnight or prior to processing the carcass. So most people don't wait till midnight. When they get home, they clean the bird up. So you have to telecheck that bird before you breast it out and do all that with it.
Okay, Will from Hardin County wants to know if he can kill a turkey from his boat.
No, you cannot turkey hunt from a boat. It is
Under
in the
power, not under
regulations.
power, it doesn't matter.
That's
Now, you can
correct.
use a boat to access a piece of property,
An area.
but you cannot fire the gun from the boat.
That is correct.
All right, Mike from Crittenden County. Are the compressed air shotguns legal this year? Are you familiar with that?
I haven't seen the compressed air shotguns. Again, that would be a good question to call up to the main office.
Okay.
At 1-800-858-1549 and check with them. I haven't seen any regulations on those, but I haven't seen the air shotguns.
I'm not certain either. I think for squirrel, some of the single projectile
Correct.
air, but I haven't seen anything for shotgun. But
I
I'd
haven't
call
either.
it,
Yeah.
Tim from Campbell County wants to know why you can't shoot turkeys with a .22. It sounds like a crazy question to us here from Kentucky, but there are some states that allow hunting with a .22.
And high-powered rifles, if I'm not mistaken,
There
in
are.
some places.
Yep, in the
But
fall usually. Yeah.
I think it has to do probably with safety. Also with, it's a lot easier to pick a bird off with a high-powered rifle or a .22 at a longer distance, so there's more sport in it using the shotgun. And the rules and regulations say shotgun, so that's what we have to stick with, or bows and crossbows. But
We even have some neighboring states that using a .22 is allowed, but I think it's West Virginia, I believe it's allowed. But man, it's mountainous and hilly.
Yeah, I think it's in the fall too. I'm not 100%, but still don't think it's a spring thing.
Okay.
Just because in the fall there's typically a lot fewer people at one time.
Yeah.
Except maybe deer season, but
Yeah.
it's just our tradition of turkey hunting in Kentucky is, let's give the birds a chance, and pull them in.
Yeah. William from Muhlenberg County. Are the numbers of turkeys down in western Kentucky? He's saying he hadn't seen many this year.
Yeah, I think our reports from our biologists, and I get numerous reports from the public. It seems like populations generally in Western Kentucky are down from what they were a few years ago. Again, we've had some bad hatches. Even this past summer, when overall statewide it was better, Western Kentucky lagged behind a little bit. So why is that? Untimely weather, typically. Cold, wet conditions right at hatching time is not good localized for a population, but hopefully they'll rebound. I mean, turkey populations are resilient. Are we going to see days that we had several years ago? Again, we're in a phase of fluctuation now, so hopefully they'll rebound.
Chris from Jefferson County, how many turkeys can you take in a season?
During the spring season, it's two turkeys per season, and only one turkey per day.
Okay.
Again, male turkeys or turkeys with visible beard for the spring.
Brandon from Lebanon, Kentucky, why not allow 2 weekends for youth hunting of turkey? That's an interesting question.
From my perspective, in some years there's a week between, but like this year there's not really room for it. Biologically, I mentioned earlier that we set our seasons for a reason, to ensure that majority of hens have gotten bred so that we don't negatively impact the population. In order to have 2 weekends for for youth season, we would either have to move the season up or move the general season back, and that neither are probably going to fly. Moving it up, again, we risk hurting the population a little bit, and so there's really just not room for it at this point.
An interesting thing is too, I hear a lot of people say about youth seasons. You're not going to find a bigger advocate for taking a kid out there and taking them hunting. But you can also do it during the regular season.
Right.
I mean,
sure.
Just because you got 2 days there, I mean, feel free. You can only take 2 birds. If you get out and you get a bird, take a youth with you during the regular season. There's no rules or regulations. They can take a bird if they don't take one during the youth season. If they're not required to tag, or even if they do have it required to tag after the age of 12, that tag is still good during the normal season. It's not like, well, you missed out on your youth opportunity. Your tag's no longer good. No, that tag's good for the entire turkey season.
Yeah, even the fall. The youth turkey permit's even good through the fall season. If they're not fortunate enough to harvest one during the spring season, they can use that in the fall. And the fun thing too about taking a youth with you during the adult season is you might even get a chance to double up on a bird, whereas the adult can't shoot during the youth. You might get a chance to double up on a couple birds that way.
And that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I can't imagine a more exciting way to spend a day with one of your children or with another kid to go out and to get a double. I mean, that child will remember that forever.
That should be on the bucket list. As a serious turkey hunt.
Thomas from Bracken County, will they ever increase the season limit in the future? I guess he's referring to some other states that are allowing more than 2 birds or 1 per day.
I mean, it's possible, but at this point, our population, like I said, we're kind of in a phase now where the population's not in a big growth phase. I mean, we're kind of going to oscillate year to year. So if at some point in the future we start, have a boom in the population, it's possible, but a lot of other states have seen some pretty serious declines for a number of reasons. I touched on some of them. And so generally, a lot of the turkey management communities in agreement that, we probably ought to be fairly conservative. And so our 2 bird bag limit's probably liberal enough at this point.
Okay. Larry from Barberville, Kentucky, if I have permission to hunt private farm, do I have to have a license?
Yes. The exemption is if you are a resident of Kentucky and a landowner, then you, your spouse, and dependent children can, we'll just talk about the spring turkey hunt, but you can hunt on that property without having to have license or permit. If you're a tenant farmer, then you, your spouse, and dependent children can hunt upon that property without requiring the permit or license as well. Still have to follow all the rules and the regulations, the bag limits, and you still have to check the birds in.
Okay. Danny, can you hunt turkeys from a tree stand?
Yes, you can.
In the fall, that's how a lot of people hunt them, because they're actually deer hunting, and the turkey comes by and they're like, hey, I got a turkey tag as well. So that happens quite a bit. Ted from Facebook. We get a lot of Facebook questions. I tell you what, our social media platform and a good way to reach out to Kentucky Afield is via our Facebook. So make sure you keep in contact with us. And if you're not a subscriber to our Facebook page, make sure you log on to Kentucky Afield on our Facebook page. Most of these questions are coming through there. Ted from Facebook, is it legal to practice calling for turkeys out of season when you're not hunting them? What is the range of time where it becomes illegal to call for turkeys?
It is March the 1st through the opening weekend of the youth season, and then from the time, of course, you can do it the 2 days of the youth season, and then once the youth season closes, again, it's prohibited until the opening day of the regular spring adult season.
So during the hunting season, if you're not hunting, and let's say you're on a bass boat, and you're thinking about turkey hunting, and you're fishing down a bank, and you know you're on a wildlife management area, can you make a couple clucks, try to get a turkey to fire off?
You could. There's nothing against that. I would kind of be cautious about that. You may, if you're out there calling and stuff, you may, if an officer's nearby, they may check you. They may hear the calling and come out and check to see if you're hunting. But no, there's nothing that says that they can't use the call during the season. Even if they're not hunting. But then again, you're kind of educating those birds as well.
If you listen, you're probably going to hear one. Wait till a crow fires off. Wait till a plane goes overhead. If there's turkeys around, you'll probably hear them.
Thunderstorm.
A thunderstorm.
Yeah.
You get to a place where you're gonna hunt and you slam your car door. Sometimes you hear them gobble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone honks a horn. I mean, it's amazing. They really they try to be the most dominant thing around. I mean, they will make a gobble at about anything when they're really hot.
That's right.
So it's amazing. This time of year, in Kentucky, there's so many things to do. And I know that I have went out on a fishing trip on a lake that was surrounded by a wildlife management area and listened and planned turkey hunts off of that. It's a great way to do it. Because, you're battling here in Kentucky. Basketball season's over. Do I want to fish? Do I want to turkey hunt? And everybody's got cabin fever. Everybody wants to get outdoors. So it's a great way to listen. If you can hear some turkeys, you may find a unique opportunity on public property to get in after a turkey. Roger from Boyd County, how many shells are you allowed to have in your gun while turkey hunting?
The shotgun has to be plugged so it can only hold a maximum of 3, 2 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber.
Okay. Tommy from Knox County, do turkeys eat mushrooms?
Yeah, they sure will.
Okay.
They're not real selective, if it's there, they'll eat it. It's probably not something they seek out necessarily, but they'll take advantage.
Fred from Livingston County wants to know if it's legal to have an automatic fish feeder in his pond during turkey season. I guess it's broadcasting some type of a meal.
I would say yes. If that's casting it out in the water for the fish to eat, then yeah, that would be fine.
Do farmers use chicken manure for fertilizer? Does that cause diseases in wild turkeys? I've heard this. I've been asked this question quite a few times.
It has the potential to, but has it ever done it conclusively? Not that we know of. So if it did, it would be caused by a protozoan, a little microorganism called, it's blackhead disease is the problem. So like I said, there are researchers looking into that to see if it's a real problem. But at this point, we shouldn't just jump to conclusions that that's what's causing the population to decline.
Yeah.
We don't really have evidence for that, yeah.
All right, Dennis from Ohio County. Is it legal to hunt turkeys over a freshly sown yard? Talking about the curtilage of your home, here you go. Is that legal?
I would say no.
Okay.
Depending on how it's sown. There's probably a lot of variables in there. That's not going to be just a black and white question. There's going to be some variables in there that you would have to, know more details about it.
Denton from Rowan County. Are turkeys found in all 120 counties throughout the state?
They are, yep.
So, how long have we had turkeys in the state of Kentucky now?
Well, we've had them we never really lost them totally. They were, in the 40s, they were only really at LBL, and then they started moving some around to eastern Kentucky. They released some out on Pine Mountain WMA and didn't really work out so much. We started getting birds from Ohio, Missouri, Mississippi, Arkansas in the 70s, and in the late 70s, that's when our restoration effort really took off. And eventually, so we were getting birds from other states. We were orchestrating some really interesting wildlife trades. Deer and otters were involved, and then at some point we had enough birds that we started moving our own birds around. So we had birds in every county. I was just reading the other night that like in the late 90s, 98 or so, I think Fayette and Bourbon were the only two counties they thought didn't have birds, except maybe on the Kentucky River Bluffs. But
And that was in the
they're everywhere
90s?
now. Late 90s,
Wow.
yeah. But they're definitely, there's plenty of turkeys around the state now.
You know, I was raised on the banks of the Salt River, and I can remember some of the kids that were old enough to start hunting, and I was not old enough to really go out and be doing it myself, talking about, hey, they're releasing turkeys down on the Salt River. And the amount of turkeys that we have now really, it truly is a success story. You know, you made a comment about trading game with other states. That's kind of a contentious topic, but that has been going on for many, many, many years. We've got a lot of our game animals because we've worked through other state agencies that have abundance of animals and have sent them to Kentucky, right?
Yes, we have. Yeah, states work together, you know, when there's limited resource in one. Of course, nowadays we have to be real cognizant of different diseases and things that can pass. So there's a lot of procedures, and a lot of forethought that goes into all that. But yeah, states tend to work together.
Roger from Barron County, if you go out before youth season and carry a shotgun with you, is that legal? I guess he's saying he's carrying a shotgun for protection is what he's saying here.
Yeah, I mean, there's no, you know, as long as he can legally do so, there's nothing, no regulation says he can't carry a firearm while he's out there walking around.
Taking a walk through the woods with a firearm is completely allowed. It's if you use that firearm to harvest something,
right.
It's not in season or you don't have the appropriate tags.
That's correct, yeah.
I can remember every now and then just taking a walk through with a shotgun and taking a couple shots is kind of fun thing to do, you know.
Sure.
Dewey from Carter County wants to know if he can explain the limits of the wildlife feeding ban. We talked about this a little bit. Give me the dates one more time.
Yeah, it's March. You cannot feed wildlife from March 1st through May 31st, except for in the curtilage of your home, which is easy. The best way to describe that is the area immediately surrounding your home. That's part of your everyday living. And with that, even though in those areas you can feed wildlife during those times, it's still not legal. Would not be legal to hunt turkeys or anything like that over that feed. It just allows you to continue to feed wildlife in those areas. Anywhere outside of that area, it's illegal to feed wildlife during that time.
All right. Brian from Oldham County, what do you do if you encounter a hunter on your property and you're not allowing hunting? This goes way beyond turkey hunting. What's the procedure?
The best thing to do is call our 1-800-25 alert number. That'll ring through to Kentucky State Police Dispatch. They'll ask you what county the complaint's in, and you tell them. They'll transfer you to the appropriate post, and then that dispatcher can get a hold of one of the conservation officers in that area and get them in contact with you. But that's the best thing to do.
Diana from Jefferson County, she wants to know if she can get crop damage permits for turkey. Said she's seen as many as 100 in her soybeans. It's interesting. One of the pieces of property that I'm trying to hunt this year was asking how many turkeys he's seeing, and he's like, a bunch. You wait till I plant the corn and the corn gets about that tall, they pull it up and take the little piece off the bottom. But are there permits for crop damage?
Yeah, it can happen. It can, but I'll make the comment that in the vast majority of cases, it may be hard for folks to believe, but those turkeys aren't after damaging the crop. They're picking bugs. Soybean field, you know, soybeans are a legume, just like clover and other things. So it harbors a lot of insects, and that's what they're after.
Hey, Diana, I live close to Louisville. Give me a call, and I'll bring a youth out there, and we'll help you out. We'll take a couple turkeys out and maybe chase them on. So I'll tell you what, a lot of people out there listening to this would love to have Diana's problem.
That's right.
Have 75 turkeys in their field. Yep. Fred from Bullitt County. My grandson lives in Indiana during the weekdays, but in Kentucky on the weekends. Can he hunt on a Kentucky license? He didn't tell me his age.
It depends on his age. If he's a youth, 15 or under, then yes. If he is 16 or older, then sounds like he would be considered an Indiana resident. So he would be required to buy a non-resident annual hunting license and a non-resident spring turkey permit.
All right. Gary on Facebook, I live in Rolling Fork, WMA. Will the controlled burns affect turkey patterns in this area?
If anything, it should help. I mean, it could potentially shift their movements short term, but man, after that burn, once those grasses and other plants start greening up, that should be an attractant for turkeys. So I would note where those are and try to hone in on them, because you might actually get some good hunting around them. And certainly we're doing the burning because it's beneficial for the populations. Again, talked about earlier, nesting and brood cover. So, but yeah, short term, yeah, it can shift their movements, but I don't think it certainly won't move them off the WMA. It's big enough that they should be there, hopefully.
Ray from Fulton County, what county has the highest harvested numbers of turkeys? I guess that changes year to year, but typically give me a couple of counties that are always up near the top.
Our Green River region, usually Logan, Muhlenberg, those are going to be some of the bigger counties, typically for absolute numbers, yeah.
I've hunted Todd County a couple times. Most turkeys I've ever seen in my entire life was in that particular county. So
That's
kind of
right.
down there in that area you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
You're from Todd County too. So
Logan County.
Logan County,
I'm
right there
proud
in that
Logan
area.
County resident, but yeah, I got a lot of friends in Todd County too. So.
You want to tell everybody there's not many turkeys in Logan County.
No, not
hunting on
much. I
turkey.
wouldn't go, wild hunting there.
Waste of time.
That's right, yeah.
All right, hey, I'll tell you what, we've got tons of questions. I want to thank everyone for calling in and give us your question. Even if you didn't get your question answered today, you can reach out to us. We'd gladly answer it anytime. That's what we're here for. Make sure you give us a call. Tune in to Kentucky Afield. We've got a lot of really exciting shoots coming up. Something for everybody. We're going to be doing things with Kentucky Wild. We're going to be doing some fishing, some hunting, and hey, get out there this turkey season and take a kid, because you and he will never forget it.